a Puerto voy para Mayarín.
Well, Almes Herrera, you've just been appointed ambassador for the Republic of Cuba in Ireland. How do you see this assignment, and how do you assess the relationship between our countries?
Well, I'm very happy to be assigned to this country. I heard a lot about. I never had been before, but I have a very good approach to the country. The relations between Cuba and Ireland are going well in the best way, and I hope it will be strengthened in the next future. We are small countries, islands. Our people have a good feeling about you, and of course we receive also a good feeling from the Irish people. And I'm very happy and also very optimistic about the possibilities of growing up these bilateral relations.
Ambassador, the Cuban people came through a very difficult time, which was called a special period.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you manage to get through this kind of successfully? What were the difficulties involved?
Well, the difficulties were very, very wide because we had about 80% of our foreign trade was with the former Soviet Union and the socialist countries. Then, in this period, we lost all this trade, or almost all, and we have to reconvert our foreign trade in a very difficult situation, and we have a decrease of our economy, our industry has to stop, and many other things. But why it was not the end, as somebody supposed? Because really our revolution is very well inserted in our roots, popular roots. And the population was in a position to try to resolve the problem with very difficult economic problem for the family, for everybody, but everybody decided that it was necessary to go ahead by ourselves and to resolve the problem of starting again the industry, starting again the agriculture. We had to change from tractors to animal traction, which was a transition back. We have to do many things. We have to use a bicycle to go to work instead of buses. But step by step, we arrived to change the situation, and in the mid-90s, the economy started again to grow, very slowly, but started again to grow. The period was almost all the 90s, more or less. That was the worst period. We can say that we are still in a special period, but it's not the same situation as we got after 1989, sorry. And we can say that was the popular will, what permit to go ahead with a right direction from the government, from the revolutionary government, and a right decision not to surrender towards those who like a change in Cuba. For us, a bad change, coming back to the Batista period. That was the claims from the right-wingers of North American, the Cuban Americans living in North America, and also from the government of the United States. All the time in this more than 50 years, the main decision of the revolution has been connecting with the population, directly with the population. Not a bureaucratic decision, not individual decision, has been made with the whole will of the Cuban population. That's why the revolution in Cuba survived to a very important crisis without giving the arms, without supporting the pressure from abroad.
Yeah, but since the end of the 90s, especially since the election of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, there have been tremendous changes in the whole of Latin America. I would think that the example of Cuba in holding out and in conserving its independence and its social advances has been a tremendous contribution to these changes. But these changes have also been very, very good for Cuba. And Cuba has also contributed a great deal, considering the foundation of ALBA, the mutual aid organization of states, and now the community of Latin American and Caribbean states has almost, which does not include the United States and Canada, has eclipsed the Organization of American States, which did exclude Cuba. There have been tremendous changes. How do you assess these changes, and how have they affected Cuba in particular?
Well, the changes are very, very big and very, very important. I think the role of Cuba has been giving the example, our model, our idea about how to develop the country with solidarity, with equality as much as possible of the population, that permit to be more just in connection with the necessity of the whole population and not with a part, higher part of this population. This example is the most important thing Cuba contribute for this process in Latin America. But I think the main situation why Latin America is changing is because of the internal situation of those countries with the neoliberalism and all the ideas that trying to be rich in connection with the macroeconomic index will be enough to get better the situation of population. That is false. Then with this special period pushing with neoliberalism, the population has been living worse in practice. Never mind what the figures says in connection with the macroeconomic levels. And that is, for me, the main reason of these changes that have been not in the way Cuba did, in the way the Latin American can do, elections and so on. Apart of that, the contribution of Cuba and the contribution Cuba received is an exchange of solidarity, an exchange of products or mainly services connected with health or other technical branches. We are helping Venezuela with doctors, with technicians connecting with health, technicians in other branches, in agriculture and other things. And we receive also collaboration from Venezuela. We have a good collaboration with Ecuador, with Nicaragua, with other countries. And we have collaboration even with the rest of Latin America, not being inside ALBA. ALBA has been a very important project started by Cuba and Venezuela. Now there are more countries together in this project. Is quite different of other intention of integration in Latin America, because the main aspect, the main act of this organization is the solidarity. Of course, we have exchange, we have company, we have all things in commerce and so on, but the main direction is solidarity, not the monetary aspect or other things. We have to finance the things, but we have to try to resolve the problem with solidarity, connecting with the necessity of population. That's why there is a program with Venezuela and Cuba connecting with the people who need operation for sight. And there are millions of people now receiving these benefits all over Latin America, with the support of Venezuela and Cuba. The Cuban doctors, Venezuela financing operations, and people are receiving that service free of charge. Then they can see. Sometimes it's very curious to hear that some people say, thanks to God, thanks to Chávez, and thanks to Fidel,
Yes.
because now I can see. It's called Operación Milagro,
Yes.
as you know. This is a very important program of collaboration, ALBA, but also with countries out of ALBA. We have also collaboration with Brazil, with Argentina, with Mexico, with other countries that are not members of ALBA. But the project of ALBA is particularly interesting because it's different. It's different in connection with other traditions. In CELAC, it's the first time, as you said, that all the Latin American and Caribbean countries have the possibility of discussing our own problems without the presence of North America. What is very important, because our interest, even if we have difference in connection with different governments and so on, but we have to put first the common things of Latin America, the common interest of our countries and our populations, and that is possible to do it with CELAC, with the whole countries trying to get the best for our population. It's not easy, but it's possible, which is the most important thing. Cuba has been the opportunity to be the president of this organization during 2013, and we did a very useful job. I think we contribute to go ahead with this organization that is very new. Venezuela was one of the founders, a much important founder, because it was settled in Caracas, the organization. Then the first year was headed by Chile. Now it's Costa Rica, and Cuba was in this last year. Was recognized in the recent summit of the CELAC the role of Cuba during this year, and Cuba will continue the next year, this year, for 2014, contributed with the rest of 4 countries, with Chile and a Caribbean country, and Costa Rica, helping to go ahead with the organization. I think that is a very important step, and now in the summit in Havana, there was a declaration about the Latin America as a zone of peace, which is very important, and also some agreements in connection with the development of the CELAC and the development of our country for the next future. Of course, Cuba receive benefits of being in CELAC, of being in ALBA, of being in all contribution on all this area, and at the same time we try to contribute with our own effort and with our technicians. We have not big resources in energy, and we receive energy, but we have big resources in human capital, and we are giving our well-prepared people to work in the more isolated places all over the countries, in medicine, in whatever it is necessary, not because they are going to live, I mean the technicians, they are going to live better or so on, but because they have a compromise with the population of those territories to help them. That is the main goal, not another one, not individual goals. It's a goal of contribute in places where normally the physicians or the technicians of those countries don't like to go, and Cubans go there,
Yeah.
and with a sacrifice because the condition of life sometimes are very, very hard. That is a contribution, certainly.
This was very clear in Venezuela, that
Yes.
Barrios said Venezuela, that Venezuelan doctors never went there, and the Cuban doctors went there.
They go.
But Cuba is also educating doctors from
Yes.
very many countries, and with the program of education and the commitment they expect from the students, you could say they're educating a different type of doctor.
Well, that is a very important program, very, very important. It was established by Fidel Castro when the Hurricane Mitch, another important hurricane in the Central American, got a lot of damage, and the Cuban doctors went there to help. And that was for Fidel an idea to establish a school in Cuba to give free education, free of charge education for people coming from those areas, poor people that don't have the means to study medicine, which is very, very expensive, and with the compromise of coming back to the places to help the population, not to go to the cities or not to go to North America to be doctors there, but to go again to the places. They receive all the education freely, and they must go then to serve and to the population. There are ethnies of Indian origin, Aborigine origin, and there are other people, of course. Now this program involves 23 countries in Latin America and Africa. In this program has been graduated more than 22,000 physicians in 9 years to serve in those countries. Well, the medicine in Cuba is a very social one. Medicine is medicine, but if you have an approach connected with the real necessity of population, the approach to the formation of physicians has to be different. It's not a physician to be out of the realities. It's a physician that needs to know exactly what is necessary to resolve the problem, or the real problem of the low sector of the population, and they are well involved in that idea to serve a physician, not how much he's going to receive when he's a doctor, that normally could be found in different countries. People like to be doctor because it's a good profession. It is a very convenient profession. It's not the case. It's because you can be very useful to resolve the problem of the people. And I think that idea is getting very good result, and the big majority of these people who are studying, these poor people that are studying in Cuba, they are going to give a big contribution to their communities, to their countries. Sometimes we have some difficulties with the medical organizations in some countries, but in general have been agreement with the government, agreement with organizations and so on, and the problem is now over or almost over, and graduate people are going there. Sometimes they finish the last year of the career in those places as a practice, also connected with the studies. It's a big program for thousands of people, and we need to prepare more and more physicians for the third world countries, and that is the idea. Not only to prepare in Cuba, but in Venezuela we have also faculties. In Africa we are opening faculties of medicine in different places in Central America. That means that in the future those doctors are going to study even in their own countries, and also in Cuba, but not only. It's like a net of a school of medicine with the Cuban support, with the Cuban professors, and preparing also other professors, national professors for all these faculties. That is the idea.
To go back to the economic questions, the United States persists in maintaining the economic blockade against Cuba, which is still very damaging, and is still holding prisoner four of the 5 heroic Cuban anti-terrorists activists. Do you see any prospect of a change in this situation and a change in relationship with the United States?
Well, it had to change, but I am not able to say when. That's the problem. Life will impose a change in this situation, and blockade has demonstrated its inefficient. Sorry, the cold. It's inefficient and didn't get the result. The governors of the United States tried to resolve with this blockade. The rhetoric with actual administration is lower than in the past, but they continue to maintain the same control of the Cuban transaction all over the world, and they are not doing nothing to change the situation in spite of the votation in the United Nations that almost all the countries of the world, with 2 or 3 exceptions, is in favor of changing this situation of blockade. But that had to change sometimes. We are prepared to continue to work with the blockade, but we are sure that they cannot all the time blockade Cuba, and even they are blockading the North American people because they can go to Cuba. Yep. They are free to go everywhere in the world except Cuba. It's also a way to blockade the Americans. In connection with the 5, at the moment there is not a will to resolve the problem from the American government. But also, we are sure that has to be changed, and they are going to be free sooner or later. And the solidarity, international solidarity, has been very important to modify the condemns of some of them, and will be also very important to resolve finally the situation of the 3 that are going to continue, because one of them must be liberated, finish in the prison this month. One another is in Cuba already after accomplishing the condemn. And everybody is convinced about the injustice of this condemn, and also about the necessity of changing the situation and liberate them as soon as possible.
Ambassador, there have been a number of economic changes in economic policy within Cuba, and I've heard some people say that Cuba is they're retreating from socialism. How do you see these changes?
Yes, many people that think in that way you tell, they have not all the information about what Cuba is doing. And many people suppose it is not a good way. Others are best informed and understand the way we are progressing in. It's not an abandon of socialism, of course. It's a way trying to resolve some problem that we have in practice, and to continue to maintain the main ideas of economic progress and development, connected with the state companies, with social property, and at the same time liberate those enterprises of people that are not necessary in this organization to be more efficient, and open the possibility of having individual works or cooperative works in some sectors. The sectors are mainly the sector of of gastronomy, services, and some other sectors connecting with the infrastructure, but not the main sector of development. Those continue to be in the enterprises connecting with the social property and the Cuban government. At the same time, when we organize cooperative of individual people, they put together to have a business, the property continue to be state property. It's not putting the property in the hand of these people. They have the services, they obtain the benefits, but the property continue to be the property of the government. Of course, they can have tools and so on, but the installation, the big property continue to be in the state hands, guaranteeing that there was not to be a change in that matter. To the patients, we are giving the land that we are not using at the moment, giving the land to produce, but the property continue to be state property. A third of the rural property in Cuba is a private property, but 2/3 are state property. That continue to be in the same proportion, but part of the state property has been exploited by individuals or cooperative, but maintaining the benefits and so on, but not the property. The property continue to be social property. If something doesn't go well, we can change at any time and give the land to another one who will be best prepared to produce, and so on. That is a new way. Of course, we have always challenges in those programs. We have to deal with the problem of the evasion of taxes, which is a very common problem everywhere. We have to deal with this problem for that sector. We have to deal with the organization of cooperative in sectors in which were not traditional, because we had tradition in rural production with cooperative. That is a long tradition. But production with cooperative in other sectors, we had not the experience. Now we are developing this experience. They have also to pay tax, they receive the benefits, and they have to manage to do better than the state did when this property was in exploitation by the state. And they are doing, because the individual interests are now connecting with the social interest in the best way in that sense. But the main thing, I think the essential question is that we are not giving the property to others. We maintain the principle, the socialist principle of having the control of property, and that will be the big difference in connection with other experience in some countries in connection with changing the rule of socialism. We continue to maintain the criteria of socialism as the best way for the Cuban progress, for the Cuban development, and we use these means to help in that direction, not to change, not to go back to capitalism. It's not the idea. The idea is to perfection socialism in coincidence with some elements of individual work and cooperative work, but mainly with a more efficient organization of the state companies connected with the main ideas of developing Cuba, connected with the necessity of the population. That is the idea.
So Cuba is continuing to develop socialism according to its own way and according to its own principles, and is most of all continuing to give an example of independent development and maintaining its independence.
We have only that option. We have no option.
Yeah.
For us, capitalism is not an option. I think for nobody, but consenting in Cuba, the idea, we have not the option of capitalism. We already know capitalism. We had years of capitalism. It's not something new for us. But our idea is to progress in the way of changing for the best the situation of population, but not through the mechanism of capitalism, through the mechanism of socialism and guaranteeing for everybody the equality of opportunity, the possibility of being educated, of health, all the games we had with the socialist rules, maintaining it and perfectioning it, and of course try to get the socialism that the Cuban population deserves.
Ambassador, thank you very much. We wish you a very happy and very fruitful time in your tenure of the office.
Thank you.
Ireland.
I count also in your help to
be sure of that.
De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Puerto, voy para Mayarín.